as Harry and Meghan announced a tense return to Britain with Archie and Lily. Insiders are terrified of this calculated play, with the kids fearing heavy royal manipulation. One source warns, do not expect a warm family reunion, this is a trap. They are challenging the family to ignore them while they are right here with the children. Britain's summer of 2026 did not begin with the usual glittering royal celebrations, but with a highly unusual administrative message sent directly from the heart of power at Westminster, sparking deep and immediate panic across the entire nation. Buckingham Palace just released a strict administrative directive confirming a massive non-negotiable cut to King Charles III's official working schedule for this coming July. Although official public statements tried desperately to focus the media on June's scheduled events to calm the storm, palace insiders and close royal observers know that a severe constitutional crisis and a deep family split are quietly unfolding right behind those reinforced stone walls. The real spark for this dramatic power shift is a deeply emotional, unilateral decision made by King Charles III regarding the Sussex family. Caught in a grueling battle with an aggressive cancer, the 77-year-old monarch, in a weak moment as a father and grandfather, bypassed all official constitutional advisers to personally sign off on a 5-day British visit for Prince Harry and Meghan this July. What is even more alarming is that the king agreed to let Meghan join him at several high-profile official royal ceremonies. This desperate decision grew from the deep, aching desire of an ailing man facing a rapid decline in health, wanting only to see his grandchildren, Prince Archie and Princess Lily, before his time runs out, but it immediately sparked an unprecedented wave of rebellion from the strongest pillars of the British monarchy. Prince William, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, and Princess Anne quickly built an unyielding, rock-solid wall of resistance. They did not see this emotional move as just a harmless family favour, but rather as a catastrophic failure in strategic judgment that posed a direct threat to the safety and long-term survival of the sovereign crown. With this massive structural vulnerability suddenly exposed, Prince William was forced to step directly out of the shadows of his heir-apparent role, standing as an unbending protective shield for the public and the administrative integrity of the entire state. The deep contrast between King Charles III's sheer exhaustion under the relentless emotional pressure from Montecito and Prince William's cold, ironclad discipline has never been more glaring. While the sick king struggles through the dark fog of intense medical treatments, William has quietly seized de facto control over all royal administrative filters. The Prince of Wales knows all too well that the chaotic, unpredictable media games surrounding his younger brother's arrival could easily shatter the king's fragile health and recovery process. Royal doctors have issued grave warnings that his recovery depends entirely on maintaining a strictly regulated environment, completely free of any psychological pressure. By stepping up as the ultimate unyielding gatekeeper of the crown, William is carrying a heavy and unprecedented double burden on his shoulders. On one side, managing an incredibly volatile family standoff, and on the other, preparing the British public for a new reign that is approaching far faster than expected. That quiet, simmering anger building inside Kensington Palace finally erupted into a moment of historic defiance during the recent Trooping the Colour military parade. While the excited British public gathered to watch a flawless display of military tradition and continuous royal power, the deep cracks split wide open when William and Catherine made an unprecedented, bold move, leaving the official royal proceedings much earlier than scheduled, sending a loud, unspoken warning to Buckingham Palace and the global press that they will never allow their sterling reputation to be used to satisfy sentimental transatlantic whims. With family unity completely shattered and the quiet rebellion from his own heir deepening, King Charles III was trapped in a brutal, impossible dilemma. Recognizing that he simply no longer had the mental sharpness or physical stamina to deal with the heavy emotional pressure coming out of California all on his own, the sick king made an unexpected, drastic move that completely reshaped the entire royal chessboard. He called a secret emergency family summit under tight security where King Charles III handed down a truly historic, shocking decision. Completely ignoring all his traditional constitutional advisors and high-ranking palace officials, and even bypassing Queen Camilla, he placed absolute administrative authority and immediate crisis management into the hands of his trusted sister, Princess Anne, the Princess Royal. This was not a desperate random move, but a highly calculated strategy by an exhausted king who is determined to protect his family dynasty. Across the modern history of the House of Windsor, Princess Anne has stood as the ultimate symbol of duty, rigid discipline, and a blunt honesty that often borders on coldness. She remains the single family member who exists completely outside of personal feuds, remains totally unswayed by loud media narratives, and most importantly, she enjoys an untouchable status against any attacks launched by the Sussex faction. The moment Princess Anne walked into the tense room and stood up to deliver the decree on behalf of the king, the room fell into a heavy, razor-sharp silence. She did not bring comforting words or family reconciliation plans to the table. Instead, she brought a strict manifesto of administrative martial law officially launching Operation Lockdown to draw a hard line between true sovereign power and endless deception. New administrative directives drafted at that emergency family gathering quickly turned into a rigid, sharp legal framework under the unyielding direct leadership of Princess Anne. The core mandate handed down by the Princess Royal on behalf of the king was carefully built as a non-negotiable protocol for royal survival, carving out a calculated middle path that leaves no room for soft compromises or manipulation. She made it crystal clear to the gathered senior royals that the king's final wishes for his youngest son had absolutely nothing to do with family reconciliation or restoring his public standing. The official decree formally states that Prince Harry is recognised strictly and solely as a member of the royal bloodline, a permanent acknowledgement of his biological place in the family fabric. However, but make no mistake, this biological recognition comes with a permanent absolute ban from any kind of constitutional authority, public representation, or any active operational responsibility inside the monarchy. When Anne delivered this sharp mandate, she made it very clear that traditional paths of royal influence and privilege are being permanently cut off to protect the future of the crown from this constant domestic chaos. This brutal clinical reality left Prince Harry stranded in a deeply isolated, incredibly vulnerable position, officially acknowledged by the family but completely stripped of any real access to the actual levers of royal power. Princess Anne designed this highly strategic arrangement to do one thing: completely starve the California household of the institutional oxygen they need. Inside Kensington Palace, anger had been simmering over the king's initial one-sided concessions to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Now that fury found a perfect weapon in Anne's clinical approach. The real source of this outrage, among senior working royals, is the blatant, frustrating hypocrisy of Harry and Meghan demanding to bring young Prince Archie and Princess Leah to the United Kingdom without any official state-funded security guarantees in place. For several years, the California household ran massive, highly public legal battles against the British Home Office. They filled the global media with loud, angry warnings that they could never set foot on British soil because of extreme dangers to their family without top-tier state protection. And yet, the very second King Charles opened a small window for a highly emotional family visit, the Sussexes completely flipped their stance, eagerly getting ready to fly those young children right across the Atlantic. For William, Catherine and Anne, this was crazy. There was absolutely none of the heavy security they once demanded. This sudden turnaround exposed their previous complaints from Montecito as a total calculated performance. It proved their noisy demands for protection were never about actual safety, but rather a desperate grab for royal status and public validation. The Sussexes seemingly wanted to use these two innocent young kids to pull on the heartstrings of a vulnerable, ailing king. At the same time, they could validate their children's royal heritage to boost the commercial value of their global brand. But Princess Anne, she saw right through it. Any emotional softness from the king would set a terrible precedent, deeply damaging the credibility of the crown. It would signal to the public that personal favoritism can override royal rules. So she treated this 5-day transatlantic trip strictly as a highly controlled legal event, not an innocent family reunion. She successfully turned a potentially chaotic media circus into a restricted clinical clearance, completely neutralizing any chance for emotional manipulation. This brilliant tactical defense of the crown run by Princess Anne hit a critical moment when she shifted the focus from broad rules to very specific historic violations of their Megxit exit agreement. Princess Anne wanted to destroy the manipulative spin coming out of Montecito, reminding the king of who they were actually dealing with. So she boldly brought up that infamous highly public incident involving Meghan Markle. She reminded King Charles of the massive breach of trust that happened when the Duke and Duchess of Sussex used their Archwell Foundation to channel big humanitarian funds to relief organisations over in Ukraine. Giving the money was standard, but the public relations stunt that followed sparked a wave of deep, genuine anger inside the palace walls. The Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine, Fedorov, ended up posting a public thank you message on the social media platform, Twitter explicitly addressing the couple with that highly sacred title of Your Royal Highness. But instead of keeping a safe distance and respecting their strict constitutional exit agreements, Harry and Meghan aggressively shared the Prime Minister's message all over their official digital platforms, showing off that restricted royal title to millions of followers worldwide. This blatant use of the royal style struck right at the heart of the historic Megxit agreement brokered by Queen Elizabeth II. Under those strict terms, Harry and Meghan agreed that once they stepped back from duties, they were completely forbidden from using the style of Your Royal Highness in any public commercial or international capacity, even though the Ukrainian government had written those specific words purely out of diplomatic courtesy. The decision by the Sussexes to deliberately broadcast and support the use of that restricted title was viewed by Prince William and senior leadership as a calculated, deceptive act. They saw it as a sneaky attempt to claw back the prestige they had willingly given up, actively creating mass public confusion while quietly undermining the clear, consistent branding of the working monarchy. Princess Anne brought up this past betrayal during their urgent emergency meeting, using it as a stark warning to King Charles about Meghan's real motives for this upcoming July visit. She argued passionately that the Sussexes have constantly shown a pattern of finding every single loophole to monetize and weaponize their close connection to the crown. To make sure this never happens again, Princess Anne put forward a series of tough, non-negotiable demands for the upcoming face-to-face meetings. She demanded that every single interaction between the king and the California family must happen under total transparency, using official palace recording equipment and neutral, independent observers. This highly clinical setup is meant to completely destroy any chance of the couple making up private conversations or twisting the king's words. Every single word spoken, every tiny gesture, and every reaction shown during those 5 days will be locked away on official royal servers kept under the direct custody of the household archives. This strict clinical filter serves a major defensive purpose. The working monarchy knows all too well that almost every past private conversation inside the family has been harvested and sold off as commercial material for global profit. By forcing the mandatory use of this official palace recording gear, Anne ensures that absolutely no part of this short meeting can be secretly used as fuel for a potential third volume of Harry's highly destructive memoir, Spare, while guaranteeing absolute unyielding control over the illegal use of their former royal titles. Putting these strict tech safeguards in place has completely flipped the psychological dynamic of this upcoming visit, turning what the Sussexes had hoped would be a warm, deeply emotional reunion into something resembling a cold, highly policed corporate deposition. For years, Harry and Meghan assumed the private chambers of the royal family would stay completely free of any official oversight, giving them free rein to leak cosy stories to the global press without facing any official pushback. Princess Anne's sharp clinical intervention has completely destroyed that advantage. By putting neutral observers and unchangeable digital recording devices directly into the king's private rooms, she has built a thick legal wall around her frail brother. King Charles III, who is still quietly fighting a very serious illness, is now completely shielded from the heavy emotional guilt trips Harry has always used to get his way. For Prince William and his wife Catherine, this strict new layer of bureaucratic control is the only safe way to handle a hostile family presence, while the crown itself is so incredibly vulnerable, making absolutely sure that soft family feelings can never again push aside the hard legal protections of the palace. Princess Anne's brutal defense plan did not just stop at hidden audio recorders. It quickly expanded into a total ironclad block on any photos, completely shutting down the media circus heading their way from Monaquito. The Royal Press Office and top palace officials have set up a strict media quarantine designed to totally starve the California couple of any publicity whatsoever during their trip. Top PR minds inside the palace have mapped out a careful strategy to completely isolate Harry and Meghan from the actual working royal family during their brief 5-day stay. Under these rigid new rules, Harry and Meghan are going to be systematically blocked from attending any official event, state dinner, or public gathering tied to the royal family. Even worse, the palace has issued a strict non-negotiable order. No official photographers are allowed anywhere near these meetings, and absolutely no photos of the Sussexes standing next to working royals will ever see the light of day. By keeping this complete blanket of silence over the visit, the royal inner circle plans to completely kill any chance for the couple to cash in on their proximity to the king, making their whole trip commercially worthless. This highly aggressive, preemptive strike on the Sussex PR machine was actually triggered by some highly sensitive inside information about Meghan Markle's secret corporate plans. Sources inside the palace confirmed that Meghan had planned this July trip to act as a massive launchpad for her struggling lifestyle business, which is currently bleeding cash with $5 million in unsold inventory sitting in California. Warehouses. Their big plan was to sneak their new lifestyle products like homemade jams and expensive branded candles straight into the royal residences under the guise of sweet personal gifts for the family. The entire marketing scheme depended on setting up a sneaky photo opportunity that would show the sick king or Queen Camilla holding or using these commercial items. If just one single photo of the king trying out a Sussex product managed to leak to the global media, it would have instantly given their struggling company a massive multi-million-dollar advertising boost overnight, basically using the prestige of the British crown to line their own pockets. But Princess Anne saw right through the scheme, using her sharp understanding of their fragile finances to destroy the trap. Anne knew that the couple's entire financial survival rests on keeping up a very visible, very public connection to the working members of the royal family. Without the constant buzz generated by photos standing next to top-tier working royals, the whole Sussex brand quickly loses its main selling point over in the United States. By enforcing a strict total ban on photos, Anne completely cut off their ability to use royal status for personal profit, leaving Meghan Markle completely unable to get the flashy social media content she desperately needs to save her dying business interests. This absolute ban on both public and private cameras makes sure that the historic private halls of the royal family can never be used as cheap backgrounds for tacky product placements or greasy PR stunts. This tough, uncompromising move has been met with huge praise all over the United Kingdom, with the public throwing their full support behind Prince William's strong, decisive leadership. Regular people are just exhausted after years of bitter overseas media wars and endless public complaints coming straight out of California, and they are openly praising Prince William's fierce discipline in protecting both his frail father and the honour of the monarchy. The public clearly understands that the actions of Prince William and Princess Anne are not about petty family grudges, but are instead necessary structural shields to protect the crown during a very difficult, fragile time. As the public rallies around the future king, even the mainstream press has started falling in line with the mood, painting the upcoming July trip not as some warm, happy family reunion, but as a highly restricted, tightly policed business meeting with strict boundaries. The entire story has shifted completely to praise Prince William's tough, unyielding boundaries, cementing his role as the ultimate defender of the royal family's future, while proving that personal feelings will never override official crown rules. These hard lines drawn by Anne and William did not just shut down the California visitors, they triggered a permanent restructuring of the active royal family, with the strategic clearing out of King Charles III's busy schedule to protect his health and save his limited energy. A massive power vacuum opened up that needed to be handled immediately to keep the crown running smoothly and show the world an image of absolute unshakable strength. Senior palace officials just executed a historic shake-up of public duties, completely blocking any chance of a Sussex return. This strategic rise of a lean and highly efficient next-generation team proved to the entire world that the royal family can easily maintain its high visibility on its own. They simply do not need self-exiled family members who walked away from public duty. Right at the centre of this big structural shift is James the Duke of Wessex, who is now being placed directly beside Prince William during major state and ceremonial events. The young Duke executed his newly expanded duties with absolute grace and poise, sending a strong, clear signal of youthful solidarity and continuity across the nation, proving that the crown has finally moved past its bitter, deep-seated family fractures. By setting up this smooth, multi-generational support system, the inner circle at the palace made it crystal clear that the official roles once held by Prince Harry are now permanently filled, leaving the self-exiled prince as nothing more than a distant, powerless shadow standing on the very edge of the royal circle. Seeing James right there beside the Prince of Wales sends a powerful message of unity which totally justifies William's long-term plan to create a highly disciplined and streamlined British monarchy. The long-term stability of the working royals was locked in even further by the intentional, highly strategic rise of Peter Phillips and his new bride, Harriet Sperling. Her growing role inside the daily machinery of the monarchy has turned out to be an incredibly vital asset for the family. Harriet blended smoothly and elegantly into the inner family circle during those high society early summer gatherings, offering a perfect comforting story for a public that was highly eager to see positive and stable news about the House of Windsor. The inner circle at the palace absolutely loved this development. They quickly saw that the couple has the exact mix of old-school dignity and quiet, raw dedication needed to support the crown during this massive period of structural transition. By sending Peter and Harriet out to manage key public meetings and secondary ceremonial duties, Prince William successfully built a highly reliable backup tier that takes a lot of the physical pressure off the aging king, while ensuring that the public presence of the crown stays strong across the Commonwealth. This clever use of dependable family members is seen by royal insiders and the public alike as a highly necessary, deeply reassuring step towards securing the long-term future of the monarchy. Almost everyone seems to support this proactive restructuring, seeing it as proof of real resilience that completely shuts down any of those nagging rumours about a major staff shortage. Naturally, the public responded with massive, overwhelming approval, reinforcing the powerful narrative that the future of the crown is in incredibly safe hands. It proves once and for all that the modern royal family does not need the help of people who chose to walk away from their duties to maintain their historic prestige and global authority. Public sympathy has completely vanished for anyone who seems to be bringing stressful, demanding drama into the king's life at a time when he must focus all his energy on his essential constitutional duties. And besides, Princess Anne's role as the main architect of this workforce shake-up cemented her position as the ultimate bridge between the traditional reign of Queen Elizabeth II and the future era of King William V. By personally taking charge of the daily schedules for James, Peter and Harriet, Princess Anne showed both the family and the country that survival depends on unwavering duty and not on fancy public relations games. For the Prince of Wales, who carried the immense sudden weight of this unfolding strategy, seeing this loyal family network step up proved he did not have to play defence against his brother's disruptive shadow anymore. Instead, he could easily achieve his goals through the total structural replacement of that self-exiled household. The incredibly tight and strictly managed rules set for the upcoming July visit confirm that this brief transatlantic meeting will definitely not bring the emotional family reunion that King Charles III originally hoped for. That uncompromising line drawn by the office of the Prince of Wales, supported by a heavy administrative blockade, along with Princess Anne's absolute enforcement of those strict Megxit protocols, successfully turned a potentially wild media circus into a highly isolated, tightly controlled legal event. There will not be any warm hugs caught on camera, no secret deals made in the dark corners of the palace, and zero chance for the California household to exploit the king's vulnerability for easy cash. Every single boundary is now set in stone, and every exit route has been locked down by a palace staff that values overall stability far more than personal feelings. The massive weight of the British state guided by the cool, steady hand of Princess Anne guaranteed that this upcoming 5-day visit will look more like an official legal meeting than a warm emotional homecoming. This quiet, hidden crisis acted as the absolute trigger to bring in a whole new style of royal leadership, one that firmly locks in the future roles of Prince William and Princess Catherine. By acting as a tough shield against outside pressure and running a brutal administrative filter, while totally reshaping the entire royal workforce, the Prince of Wales showed a massive level of real authority that cements his position as the actual de facto leader of this modern institution. The lesson echoing out from the heart of the palace as this historic summer season wraps up is simple, absolute, and completely unyielding. This show of royal stability is going to keep running without a single second of hesitation, because the heir to the throne has already quietly and very decisively stepped forward to make sure that the foundation of this dynasty stays completely solid against any personal drama or heavy outside pressure. The three main strategies behind Princess Anne's clever intervention offer a clear, permanent blueprint for this massive change. First, her complete and unquestioned strength built up over a lifetime of loyal public service gave her the heavy administrative authority to act without getting bogged down by the standard personal, emotional family drama. Princess Anne acts purely out of a deep, fierce loyalty to the British monarchy. So her official decisions carry a massive weight, completely immune to any petty claims of jealousy or personal malice. Second, by taking on the heavy emotional burden of enforcing these strict rules, she shielded the personal legacy of King Charles III. This allowed the ailing monarch to keep focusing entirely on his personal spiritual path of forgiveness, while she kept the practical safety of the kingdom isolated from the fallout of that grace. Third, and perhaps most critical, this intervention served as a quiet bridge executing a silent but total transfer of operational power to Prince William and his long-term vision of a lean, highly disciplined and completely uncompromising royal future. Ultimately containing the Sussex household shuts the door forever on a very chaotic historical chapter, opening up a highly disciplined and strictly controlled future for the crown. For years, the global public watched a royal family trapped on the defensive, constantly vulnerable to the wild media storms and financial demands of a self-exiled couple operating from across the Atlantic. But the bold steps taken by Princess Anne during this emergency meeting shattered that pattern forever, proving that being close to the throne is a privilege, not a right, and can be stripped away when duty is abandoned. Now, as final plans for the July visit are set, The House of Windsor stands totally united not by some fragile, sweet display of family sentimentality, but through steel and iron commitment to keeping the monarchy standing strong. The future reign of King William V has effectively started ahead of schedule, defined by a protective discipline that will keep the dignity of the British crown absolutely clean and unshakable for generations.